All right, welcome into another edition of the Newport This Week video podcast. I'm Bill Bartholomew. Remember, you can find each and every episode of the video podcast on the Newport This Week YouTube page. And of course, newportthisweek.com is your mecca for everything Newport related, including this podcast. And one of the most exciting events of the year, at least to me, in Newport is the Broadway Street Fair. And it's coming up on October 14th. That's a Saturday from 12 to 4. And it encapsulates so much of what makes Newport such a wonderful place to live. The entertainment aspect of things, the activities, the businesses, sort of our media sphere, and more than anything, just the community interaction. So joining us this week is Debbie Bailey, who is one of the key organizers of the Broadway Street Fair, also with Newport This Week. Good morning, and thanks for making the time.
Thanks, Bill. Excited to be here.
So if anyone has been able to check out the paper this week, either in print or on the website, you'll be able to see a great article that profiles a sort of a basic introductory overview of this year's festival. One stat that jumps out to me, each year nearly 15,000 people take a fall stroll along Broadway, Newport's historic Main Street and major artery into the city and celebrate the diversity that the city is known for. That really encapsulates in so many ways what the event's all about. Let's talk about some of the specifics this year from your end and what people can expect in terms of some of the different stages and activities that are going to be presented.
Great. Okay. So from the generosity of a Rhode Island Foundation community grant, we were able to bring back a fifth stage, so the 5 stages this year. One will be at Equality Park. One, we'd kind of coined the name Midway Stage, which is at the Newport Family and Cosmetic Dentistry office. At City Hall, we're going to have like a sister city celebration with lots of multicultural acts performing there. We have the Stone Street stage, which is kind of more of like a singer-songwriter like stage. And Bill, I believe you can kind of fill us in more on that one. And then the fifth one we were able to bring back this year, which is kind of going to be our headlining stage. And Washington Square at the steps of the Colony House, we're excited to have the James Montgomery All-Star Blues Band as the event's headliner.
Yeah, it's super exciting to have the 5-stage array and the entire street, the neighborhood. It just comes to life, and every nook and cranny is really able to be highlighted because of that. And you mentioned there's diversity in terms of the curation and the nature of each stage. So a person who's attending the event can just walk through and kind of get a great flavor. Before we get into some of those details on the music side and so on and so forth, the sidewalk chalk art spaces that are going to be set up at Washington Square and the sort of artisan, or I should say artist opportunities that exist. Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure. So we're hoping to have like a live art in the park. So a couple different ways, like you mentioned, the sidewalk chalk. We also want to encourage some painters to come and do live painting in the park. And we're partnering with Mermaid Masterpieces this year to have 2 giant kid paint parties at a couple times throughout the day. We're going to have, we're hoping for 200 kits of paint party materials, and that'll be led by Becky Violet of Mermaid Masterpieces, and that'll also be in the square. So there'll be a free Eventbrite up soon with the times and what type of activity they can expect there.
I love that aspect of it. And what's so great about this event is that, well, sometimes people hear the word family friendly and then they assume that it's just a children's event or something like that. But the reality is this really is a cross-pollination of all ages, all demographics, all communities. And that includes opportunities for kids. That includes opportunities for adults, seniors. It includes people who want to check out original music, cover bands, different restaurants, you name it, it's there. Kind of your takeaway in terms of, looking at the different stages from a music standpoint, where that's at right now and what people can expect in a little bit more detail. I know that there's still a lot of things that are being formatted, but what can you offer right now?
Sure. So there's going to be performers on stage, but then in between the acts, when they're kind of doing a set change, there'll be another act performing in front of the stage or really close to it, so that there's always something happening at each of those areas. Like, for example, we're trying to get a Japanese drumming group come, and in between the sets at City Hall, we're hoping that we'll have some things happening at Thompson Middle School right next door that could kind of draw folks from the stage that's going to get switched over to something else. Thompson Middle School students, the Newport Children's Theater, the Japanese drummers, a mariachi band, the Bristol County Fife and Drums. So they might not be performing on the stage itself, but they're going to be doing sets in between. The Irish step dancers, for example, we're hoping to have them kind of in between stuff as well. So there's always going to be something happening. There'll never be a quiet moment.
Yeah. You mentioned the Stone Street stage, which I'm fortunate enough to be curating this year. And it is going to be sort of a singer-songwriter stage, sort of an indie original music stage. And I'm excited because that's an area that I lived and so many artists lived for so long. And real estate shifts have made that area not what it was 5 years ago. All cities are evolving. Newport's evolving really quickly. So it's an opportunity for people to kind of remind themselves of what it was like when there were dozens of artists living on Lower Broadway and ask themselves, is this something they want to make sure is a part of their community going forward? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but they'll be able to see that firsthand and kind of make that, just going to get that glimpse into that side of Newport that has shifted so dramatically. Let's talk about some of the sponsors, because that's a big piece of this. And it's like sponsor, but more partner, more community engager when it comes to this project.
So like I mentioned earlier previously, the Rhode Island Foundation Community Grant was a big supporter of the event this year. Terry Degnan Real Estate and Consulting, Discover Newport, Greenleaf. Couldn't do this without the city of Newport and all of their support. We have also got Bank Newport on board, Fastnut Irish Pub, the Tavern on Broadway, Corner Cafe, Virgin and Aged, as well as a lot of help from A1 Roofing and Construction with all of the waste management. And they're going to be partnering with Clean Ocean Access to try and make this as green as possible. And that the goal is always to leave Broadway in better condition than when we started. So we wouldn't be able to do that without A1 and Clean Ocean Access.
What does this mean to you?
It's just so exciting to see all of this happening and all the smiling faces and hear the great music and enjoy all the food. I can never decide where to eat that day. There's always so many choices, and it's really a lot of fun. And with all of the kids' activities that we're planning throughout the strip, it's going to be really exciting to see everyone doing something.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and definitely agree with the food aspect of it, because you're like, all right, you could go any direction and all directions if you were so inclined, I suppose. One thing that's noted in the article on newportthisweek.com and in the paper this week is that it is strongly encouraged that guests walk, bike, or take the bus to the fair. For those that do intend to drive, note that Broadway will be open to pedestrian traffic only. No parking will be available on Broadway. So, one, that's a logistical scenario, but it's also important from the standpoint of, hey, you know, I'm not suggesting that we remove vehicular traffic from Broadway on a permanent basis, but it's an opportunity to kind of beta test what would it be like if we did that for at least a day.
Right.
Do you think that when we look at where we're at right now in post-COVID and the challenges that we've had in terms of event planning, and you know, we're kind of in a different moment now than we were over the last few years, I'll say that. Do you think that there's an anticipation citywide, a flavor of excitement that is, you know, that this is a mile marker in terms of the Newport calendar, the way that many of the other major events are, Winterfest, Folk and Jazz Fest, the Seafood Fest, all of those things? Has it gotten to that point where people use this as a litmus test for where they're at in their calendar year?
I think so. It kind of marks the end of summer, the end of the busy season, and it's kind of back to a town of locals. The event is the second Saturday, which also happens to be the same day as one of the Bowen's Wharf festivals. So another exciting thing about adding Washington Square back into the mix is it's kind of going to be a segue down onto America's Cup, and I'm working with India at Cutie Curls to kind of get some kids' activities and other attractions down on Long Wharf. So we're really hoping that from the Parlor and Equality Park all the way down through Broadway, the square, across Long Wharf into America's Cup, that there's just going to be so much fun and activity happening that we're just really excited to do it.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Just sort of it's a takeover in a good way. It's like the right kind of takeover.
Yeah.
The website is Broadway Street Fair NPT.com. Again, Broadway Street Fair NPT.com. You can sign up there to volunteer, and you can sign up for the chalk art or paint in the park. Lastly here, what does a volunteer do? What if you want to volunteer, what are you getting yourself into?
So we try to split it up into a few different shifts so no one's there all day, but we need help getting people situated in parking, getting vendors set up. We've got over 100 signed up now, but we're really hoping for closer to 150 artisan retailers, nonprofits, and food vendors along the way. And all of those folks need a place to park, and they're going to need help getting set up. So we need volunteers with that. And then throughout the day, volunteers kind of checking in with all of the vendors, as well as helping with the wide array of kids activities, such as the maker station with Fab Newport, the paint parties, like I mentioned, with Mermaid Masterpieces. We're hoping to have Downtown Design support us with the pumpkin painting. The Rotary Club is planning a treasure hunt, so we're going to need some volunteers to kind of help set all of that up along the way. And Cutie Curls has so many fun ideas for just kind of individual arts and crafts activities throughout the strip, like making trick or treat or shopping bags kind of thing. And then at the end of the day, we need help getting everyone packed up and cleaned up. So there's opportunities to sign up with Clean Ocean Access as well to be part of their green team, or you can sign up directly with us and we'll make sure you are in the right spot for your skills and interest and the time that you're available to do so.
It's a great opportunity to get involved, meet people in your community, and contribute to something that is a year-round event of sorts. Obviously, it's a one-day experience, but it opens up a lot of hearts and minds to businesses, to people and community members that you may not otherwise encounter. So volunteering I recommend it. I hope that means something. I mean, probably, you don't need me to say it. It's worth doing.
We really need all the volunteers. It's probably 40 or 50 volunteers. In addition to myself, I have to thank Jennifer Sunderland, who's our volunteer coordinator, David Lopes, who's our main music coordinator and entertainment coordinator, who I believe, Bill, you're working with, Amanda Gallagher at Closet Revival, who's kind of the Broadway business representative on the volunteer team. And new this year, I'm really excited to work with India Kenyon at Cutie Curls, Balanced Input Audio. We wouldn't be able to do this without their expertise, and Up All Night Productions. The music stuff is so over my head. Really need those guys' expertise to do this, and I know that they volunteer a lot of time to make sure this all comes together.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of contributions. It's a really beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful day. It's one of my favorite days of the year, and I'm very honored to have a role in a curation aspect, but more than anything, to just be a participant and a member of this community that's so well celebrated on this day. Debbie Bailey, hey, thanks so much for your time, and make sure you check out, not you, Debbie, because you are immersed in this world, but everyone who's listening, check out newportthisweek.com as updates continue to move into focus and sort of the details start to become more and more clear.
Yeah, it's also on the socials on the local district page.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.